once upon a time, before LED Christmas lights, we all had traditional incandescent lights. I just got done fixing a bunch of them. I got about 30 of them. All bad, either bad bulbs or bad shunts. But I had a video on how I was going to use my new Zap Box. You know, so there's a bunch of ways that you can fix if you still use incandescent lights. This most simplest tool is your voltage detector. You got your classic Lightkeeper Pro for incandescent. You got your hybrids that does LED and traditional. But traditional in the way of only it can do voltage detect. This part. For this one, you can zap them to a point. Then you get the industrial stuff. Oh baby. So, I mean, a lot of my display is LED, but I still have my main tree that's outside. That's still incandescent. So, way too much of a pain in the butt to try to film, and it would just be a lot of wasted time and a lot of editing and crap like that. But I do have some bagged Christmas lights that have managed to survive not being thrown away. And here's some. Remember these? Incandescents. So you know how the deal was. You got them out every season, and you're like, please work, so I don't have to buy them. Of course, as time went on, these things got so dirt cheap. They were like $2-3 a box for 100 or whatever it was. So these suckers haven't been used in a long time. So if this is a date on here, 1998. And these guys take 2.5 volt. And they haven't been lit in decades. And I don't know if they light. So we're going to find out right now if they light or not. Well, I'll be dipped. They do. These haven't been lit so long, and they still work. And they've been in a damp cellar, and they've been rolled up just like this in a bag. So, it's hard to tell on camera. But there's 2 lights right here that I got side by side. You probably can't see shit. Of course not. Now you probably can see. See how this one is dim? Then this one? This is stuff that you look for. And you change this. Because it's going to die. And then when it dies, if you're lucky, it goes over to the shunt. See? Like this one. This one is barely lit. So, that would have to be replaced. Here's another one. This one's completely out. Now, if you were to leave this, it'll stay lit. 2 things will either happen. A, it'll stay lit, or in time, this shunt in here fails, and then the rest of the light will go out. So these are not the traditional ones that are tamper or theft proof. So if that shunt dies, that's what happens. The whole thing goes out. So the only thing that's keeping this lit is that shunt. So when you see burned out bulbs, see, like here's another one, that's out. So that's 2 for the same circuit. So that what that means is that there's 3. 3 bulbs are out. 4 bulbs are out. So 4 bulbs out of this section is out. So that what that means is that even though it's light, you're like, yeah, whoopee-doo. Well, here's the problem. The voltage for the rest of the remaining lit bulbs has increased. So now, instead of them, when these are all lit, they're all at 2.5 volts, all happy. They might be 2.8, 2.9, maybe 2.6. It could be anywhere from anything higher than 2.5. So what does that mean? It means eventually the rest of them are going to start going out. So it is possible for you to lose the whole set with that amount of lights being out. So unfortunately for this set, it's working. It just needs some maintenance. So just for shits and giggles, I might even fix these. I gotta see if I have 2.5 volts. I don't know. I think I do. I think I don't have any packages open. But I do have bulbs. And they're actually getting hard to find because there's only a select amount of places that sell them. Because like on my Balsam Hill tree, Balsam Hill, I don't think you can buy the incandescent lights anymore. The fix-its, the replacements. And if they do, I know in the past I looked them up. They're expensive. It's cheaper to buy the glass envelopes and replace them yourself. I got videos on them of how to fix it. So, moving on, I got other sets that have survived. Oh, here's the classic logo. Told you, this will tell you how old this bag is. Walmart. Low prices. Always. You remember that slogan? A lot of you Gen Zers don't. I know that much. That was before, Walmart went to hell. And they couldn't afford to keep everything cheap. So these are old icicle lights. Is there any dates on them? That's always fun to look at the date. Made in China. Maybe 2002. So these are still old. And it's always fun to read these tags because they'll tell you about the lead poisoning and make sure you wash your hands and all that other good stuff. So this is another 2.5 volt LED, incandescent bulb replacement. So these work. Oh yes, they do. Some of them are out. Sections are out. That is perfect. So let's see. Oh, it's a front section. That's fantastic. As I knock everything over. Brilliant. So, if you're still running incandescents, and as you can see, we go from working to not working. And the working ones, holy crap, there's a bunch of them out. That's the other thing about these things. Sometimes it's too expensive to fix these, as in replacing the bulbs. But if you're a purist, you'll spend whatever kind of money you're going to spend to fix them. Because you hate LED. I can't stand them. They flicker. They make my higher operating mind go crazy. So this is a perfect candidate to fix and test. So, normally, if you get the Lightkeeper Pro, blah, 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 you can go through that. We're going to go through the basic operation first. We're going to see what has power and what don't have power. So we're going to go right out the plug here. And of course, one side of the thing is going to have power and the other side's not. So normally what you want to do is see which side of the socket here has power. And this is a time-consuming part. Sometimes you can go to the wire too. See, this like this one's a double set. So one side is going to have power and the other side's not. But you can go through this all the time. See, like on this set, I lose power at a certain point. So like, I got power here, I got power there. So if you can follow the wire. So here's the problem. So here's you go back up one now. So we got power on this one. Power going out on that one. So now if we can follow the wire. So this is the next one. We got power going in. We don't have any power going out though. So very instance, this could be the problem one. So we'll pull that. Another section just went out. So now you get your little Lightkeeper Pro here and you test the bulb, and I think you push it. I don't remember how you use these things. So this one don't have a filament in it. I can tell by looking at the light it don't have one in it. Because no matter what I do, it will not light. So let me verify that this apparatus works. So we get a good bulb. So that was the other thing with this thing. It was kind of picky on what kind of bulb you jammed into it. So harder to test with that one. one of them situations where you can't do a good demonstration because it won't work. There. So we know that works, but it's really finicky. Almost a pain right in the ass. So we know it works. It's just that it doesn't want to cooperate because it's depending on the bulb. Get in there, you little bugger. That was the other issue, that is once you pull them out, then you don't have no guarantee that it's going to work again. That was just some of the frustrations we had as incandescent users. That's why a lot of these things just went in the garbage. So like now this bulb don't want to work. It did work, now it's dead. So that was the one of the issues we had. So with this thing, normally what you would do is you could either verify, via power, blah, blah, blah. You use your little voltage checker here after you got it all tangled up. And you've seen which one has power, which one don't. And of course, these things were always finicky anyway. Even with these things. See, like, I lose power after a certain point. And it's like this one I've been playing with. I get power on the one side, but not on the other. So, apparently, it's either got a bad filament, bad shunt, blah, blah, blah. So normally, what you would do is you would kind of like guesstimate here, and you pull one out. And you would check the ball, make sure you didn't break the things off, and then you would plug this thing in to the bottom of the port here, and then you would smash the trigger. And boom! See how it come on? So I smashed the trigger, and now it's working because I fixed the shunts. So now when you plug it back in, boom! Now it's working. And now the next stage that you do, and you're like, why did the shunt fail? So as we're looking at this thing, we got one there that's out. We got another one that's out. Another one that's out. So there's a 1, 2. I would say there's 3 on this one that's out. There's one that's out there. There's a hole. Now there's a hole. Now here's a section that's out. One section's working because this is sectioned off. So now we got another section that's not working. So these are in little stages here. So then you would go back to the process of doing the traditional way. You would see which one has power and which one don't. So now I know that this one is completely dead. It has no power running through it at all. Some of them do. So you would go on and on and on like that. So now we'll do the same thing that we did on the first one. We'll take the first one, and these are doubles, so you really don't know which one's the first one. So that's part of the frustrations. You pull the first one out. We'll smash it into the Lightkeeper Pro here. Plug it in, smash the trigger, and now it's working. Then you put the ball back in, and you see how many lights are out. And of course, there's a plethora of them out because they're old. So we've established that we got a bunch of them out. It's up to you if you want to fix them or not. Sometimes it's, like I said, it's not feasible to fix them. And now, like, a lot of the set was working, now it's out. And that was the other frustration with these things. You'd be like, yeah, they all work, and then the next night you would go out and they're like, oh, they're not working. So now we do the same thing here. You're going to take the first bulb and you're going to unplug it. And then use the Lightkeeper Pro and smash the button. And now if that don't work, sometimes what you can do is take it and flip it. So this is a perfect example where even the Lightkeeper Pro will not work because there's probably multiple shunt failures. And since we already established that each lit section is split into two sections, yeah, you'll be like most people would just. But I'm just going through this just to prove a point here and play with my new box. So, we established we got a big section that's not out. So, now the next stage is, if you're a professional like I am, we're going to unplug this. And now we're going to get our magic box with the shiny red button. So we're going to move all this stuff out of the way, and we're going to get the box out. Here's the box. So we're going to plug the box in, and it's got spare fuses, and we got a little power light here. So we're going to go boop. We're going to turn it off for the time being. We're going to move our little probe out of the way here. So now what we do is you plug the light set in to the box, and we're going to turn power on. So the lights are on. So now we got this section that's out. So now for just shits and giggles, we're going to just smash the button, see what happens. And I can hear it buzzing. You probably can hear it buzzing too. Now sometimes what you can do is take the plug and flip it. So, we got all these lights that are on. So to make this as effective as possible, we need to pull some bulbs out. So we're going to take a bulb out. So that's off. And now we're going to take another bulb out. And you kind of want to pay attention to, which ones you're pulling. so that you can put them back when you fixed it. So we got that section out. Now we got one more section out to turn off. So now everything's out. So we'll keep this in one hand. We're going to smash this button again. Ooh, it's angry. So now, this thing is growling and it's carrying on, so that it's got multiple faults in it. So somewhere in here, it's probably broken. So the next stage you want to do is separate this out, and now we're gonna look for the buzzing. See, like somewhere around here, I can actually feel it arcing and hear it. So it's right here. It's in this section, right here. So something is wrong between these two. And this one's got a broken wire in it. So we've established that it's got a broken wire on there, and there's probably multiple broken wires in here. So that's an issue. Hear that noise? That's what you're listening for. So apparently this one has a problem. So we'll pull it out. And actually, it's actually warm. But this is the thing you're going to do while using this box. You're gonna basically kind of like ear each one of these things, and you're gonna basically do bulb swapping until eventually you get it all working again. And see, like this set, for me, this set is too far gone to fix. So this is a set that you pretty much throw it away. Or, you get it working and, well, you save it for the bulbs. Even at that point, it's kind of like, really? So, we got another set here. So we established we got some couple of working bulbs. So here's another set. And then we can go ahead and plug this one in too. And this one's the same vintage of the as the last set. And we can go ahead and plug it in and see what works. And same thing with this one. A lot of it is out. And then all of a sudden it starts working as the shunts start taking over. So something like this, we can safely say that we got a sacrificial set. But this set is intact. This set is intact. So this one is actually worth fixing because we have a sacrificial one. And that was the biggest kicker with these incandescent lights. You always, if you were smart, you bought more than you needed, because if you light them, see, like these icicle lights, these were doubles. So this is a drop. They're doubles. So it's something unique and something you probably, if you had a bunch of them, that you would want to keep working. So, as we go through here, we're going to pull out, the bad bulbs and put in the good bulbs to get this, to fix this again. See, like, sometimes when you pull them out, sometimes you break the wire off. So then you go to your sacrificial light and look for a bulb and then fix them. And like this one's dim. It's got to go, because otherwise it's going to be a problem. So you take the bulbs out and you replace them. And of course, you can clearly see that having a sacrificial set light, having a light set, sacrificial ones actually pays off in the long run. Because you can have so many of these flipping lights that are out that it could cost you a small fortune just in replacements, just to fix them. This is just some of the stuff that you had to do back in the day, before all the LEDs, that you used to do to if these were something that you liked, that you wanted to keep going, you would just keep doing this process. And of course, if you were smart, throughout the season that these things are light or lit, that you see bulbs are out, and you just you spend a couple of times a week just checking them to make sure that they're still working. Or you want to keep on top of the bulbs as they burn out. You fix them, because otherwise, like I said, you get into the situation where the shunt takes over, and then all of a sudden that shunt fails. Then you got to go through the process of fixing them. Of course, in this demonstration, a light set like this that I got lit up probably wouldn't last more than a season, because the failures would start adding up. Like, how many? I've already done over a dozen of these things already. And then the next year you would do the same thing. Guess we can call this like Christmas change in light AMSMR. So you can just see how much time it does consume of fixing traditional incandescent lights. And this would be the same process you would do if you had LEDs that are out. Because the same thing with LEDs. If you have too many LEDs that are out, the voltage increases for the rest of them, and then they just start going out. To the point where, the whole set fails. I think we got one more in this vintage set of incandescents work for the time being. And it's always fun to pick the one that's already out. So there. Now we have a classic set of incandescent doubles. Icicle lights that are working. And you can see that I replaced a bunch of bulbs. I'll have to count them for you, see how many that. Because it's one of them situations where it's not economically feasible to go out and buy all the little replacement bulbs from the big box stores, because it would cost you a small fortune to fix them. And that's how the Christmas light companies got you. To keep these old things going, because that's why they made them so cheap to begin with. Because it takes nothing to make these in a factory. So now we got a working set, you know. And then we can just give the old zapper, and now more out. See, like, and this is going to happen with these old sets like this. They're going to go out, unless I missed it, which is possible. Then you get the ones that are out already. So the nice thing about old incandescent lights is when you're fixing them, if you actually choose to fix them, they're nice and warm. Unlike the LEDs, they don't produce a lot of warmth. So there. Now we got a, let's just say, a temporary 100% working set of double icicle lights incandescents. So we got that. Now, how many bulbs did I change? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 31 bulbs. Which, ironically, I changed about 31 bulbs on my big 12-foot tree. So, back in the day, they still sell them in like packs of 5. So you'd have to have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 6 packages. And I think they were like $1, something like that. Actually, I got a whole box of them. Let me go find them. And we'll see how much if they got a price tag on them, which I don't remember if they have the price tags on them. Because I was nuts enough to buy them. Because I bought actually enough to buy the whole, relit the whole tree. And they don't, unfortunately, these guys don't have a price tag on them. But they were probably $1 or $2. So these are the old, you've probably seen these a long time ago in the stores. There would be a whole little section of just 2.5 volts and 3 volts and 4.5 volts. So these are for the 50 one-ways, 100 two-ways, 150 by 3, 200 by 4. And I had to buy these from hard to find items. So I got enough to, actually I got to buy more in the future. Because as you've seen, it comes to a point where you can't rely on the old bulbs because they're probably bad to start with. So we got that one. We got this one. I think we fixed this one. Yeah. So now I got 2 vintage light sets that are working. And now I got some really specialized stuff. Of course, I know back in the day, this stuff here was probably at one time all the rage. Remember these things? The little icicle, the multicolored icicle lights. They came with the most cheesiest wire ever made, and they always fell off. You were always struggling trying to keep them on. That one actually fell apart. Where did it go? So this one, some of the bulbs are completely gone. So it's one of them situations where you can actually plug it into the Zap Box. They're not going to light. You hear that? So this thing is not happy having this in here. So I'm not going to do it for long, just a second. But here's the actual missing one. So I'm going to put it right next to my... Hear it arcing? So that's the one you want to fix. So we'll find a bulb. So we'll sacrifice one. Because this one's got a missing one too. So let's just steal the bulb out of this one. Oh, they still work. Wow, that's awesome. So these are the colored ones, and these are the ones where they burn so long to a point where it actually fades out the coating on the envelope of the bulb. But that's pretty cool that they still work. Wow, that's awesome. And then we got this angry set here that's got a missing bulb. You can plug this sucker in here and do the same thing. It's actually knocking out the monitors. But I would imagine if I were to steal that one bulb out again, that this would probably work too. Yeah, no. Nope, it's got two bulbs missing. Let's see if we can make these work again. So we'll steal a bulb. See if we can make it work. Because that was the other issue with these Christmas lights, is that some of these sockets were unique. And that you couldn't, once you ran out of the spares, you couldn't really go out and like hot swap them. So you had to hot swap the bulbs and reuse the sockets all the time. So this one, even this one works. Of course, that one blew right away because it's not the right voltage for these things. But that's cool. This set works. So that set works. That's awesome. Of course, probably I'll never ever use these ever again. Probably the closest thing I would do is actually take these individual icicles off and put them on LEDs to make them work on LEDs, because incandescents, they suck. I mean, they're okay if you're that into that, but there's a certain point where they're not feasible of using them anymore, and this would be the case. You know, you're like, well, they were such nice lights. You know, they don't make that kind no more. So you would take these plastic things off and just pop them off because they just fall right off. You know, you take the icicle out, and it's just a push fit. I mean, they just held on there by the grace of God, and then you just put them together. So, other things that I had in this establishment is something that I've always liked, and these were only out for a very short time, and I try to grab as many as possible. These are the most cutest little lights ever. And these were another things where the damn ornaments on the lights always fell off. But M&M lights. See how they fall off? So this was another vintage set that I had that I stopped using that I always had every year on the tree. And this is one of them other things there. They only came in a little tiny sets. And they were a pain right in the ass because they always tangled. Because you got all them little M&Ms with their little arms out. So they were in little micro, probably, I don't know how many are in there. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, maybe 20 at best. And they came in multicolored, so red, orange, yellow, and blue, and then they came in red and green. So here's the red and greens. And of course, like I said, all the little men always fell off. So you're always struggling putting them back on, but they would go on other lights though. You know, so if you had something like, you know, another set that was worthy of getting them going again, and then you just stick them on there and call it a day. But I would do this for LEDs. I wouldn't fool with the incandescents anymore. Because one, you can't even, you got a special order the replacement bulbs now. So I'm only going to do that, you know, for so long before comes to a point where it's not worth fixing it no more. So let's see if any of these things work. Probably not. Maybe they do. Well, I didn't think the other ones worked either, but they did. Oh my God, they work. Wow, cool. Of course, for these was nice because you used all white bulbs. That's fucking cool. How about these guys? These guys work? Yep. I'll be dipped. Of course, there's a couple that are out. Now be dipped. Yeah, these work too. Son of a bitch. So that's about it that has survived prior use. And like the M&M lights, they've probably been in service for, when I did have them, use them every year, they probably, I don't know, 10 years or so. So all vintage, all stuff that could just crap out at any time. So I got one more treat in this extraordinarily long video. So I was mentioning back in the day, probably in the 90s, about the extra large, extra bright bulbs. And GE made them. And this is 150 commercial grade icicle style extra large lights. So these are icicle lights in the extra big bulb. And these are vintage, still in the box. And you think they're going to work? I doubt it. Of course, I doubted the other vintage stuff being broken. And they seem to work. These were always a problem. I had many sets of these things. I bought a plethora of these things when they came out. What the hell is all that crap? Oh. Actually, it's the bulbs coming out of the sockets. Because it was the problem with these things. So here is the extra large envelope. Compared to a traditional light. So here's the traditional light inside the side. You can tell that the envelope is much bigger. And like I was saying, because I was telling a story on these things, that these things were awesome, but the damn wires on the bulbs rotted off and they fell out. Just like on this brand new box of lights. They've never been plugged in, they've never been hung, and yet the bulbs are coming out. Let's see where they came from. So these lights were kind of cool. So like here's where they came out. These were lights because these lights were kind of clipped to the wire. They had a little clip. So whoever it was that clipped them, each one of them to the wire, God bless them. So here's the bulb in the socket, and there's the, you won't be able to see it, but the wires are still in the socket. See them? And that was the biggest problem with these things. And you can't get replacements of these because nobody makes these things, so these things are dead. But they came in a traditional lamp holder. So you could use a mini light and just jam them in there and they would work again. So I don't know if this thing will work again ever in its life. And this is why you kept the unique, if you kept sets, you kept the sockets, because this is unique. You ain't finding that anywhere other than the original light sets that they came from. You ain't getting them. That's just the way it is. So let's see if anything is alive. Probably not. I doubt it. I think these things are going to go probably right directly in the trash can. Because I highly doubt they're going to light. Nope. They are completely dead. Probably because so many bulbs are broke. Yeah, this whole thing is growling and arcing. But you hear all that buzzing and commotion, and that's what you're trying to pinpoint. Especially something like this, you'd be like, the whole thing is growling. So that's a shame that something like this won't light. And that was the biggest problem when these were brand new. You got about 3 or 4 years out of them, and they did exactly what they were doing. The bulbs break off, and then that was the end of them. So it was a huge waste, and that's why this was like virtually the last set of incandescent lights I ever bought were these things. And then once they started to fail, they went in the trash. So I hope you learned something on how to troubleshoot your incandescent lights. Fortunately, I didn't have these set to have it on the Zap Box and zap them, and then they just miraculously turn back on. They will. Like when I use this on my tree, I use the Zap Box. The Lightkeeper Pro could not overcome the multiple faults, and the one section on the top, and it was like out of 7 sections, I think the very top section, which for me is 6 and 7, so I just call it 1. It had multiple bulbs that were out. I think at least a dozen, and they were all in one section. So having a dozen lights out, and either and all the shunts failed to the point where they broke the connection inside. So this thing came in handy because for me, luckily the shunts were de-welded. So when I plugged it in, make sure I don't throw out my little pigtail cord here. So when I plugged them in, and they didn't, of course they didn't light right away. So what I did is I plugged them in, smashed the button. They didn't light right away, so immediately I turned the plug around, smashed the button again, and it came to life. So that's it for this video. So it was probably too long for you. You probably skipped so many different parts and to the end here. So if you're still into incandescent lights, and if you still can find these things, because I got this on closeout, it was like $50 or something like that. I don't think they're back in stock. The place where I bought them from 1000 bulbs. So it was a closeout thing. They probably don't make these things anymore, and that's it. And I showed you how to go through with your Lightkeeper Pro and how to smash the button. And this thing is your LED version. I did have a demo version of this. It's on my past videos of how to use this. And of course, if you don't have any of them, you can go the really basic route and look for the voltage detect. So if you are scanning, you're looking for that power, and you're looking for that break, you're pretty much doing this to each light. You're looking for the hot side, and then eventually you're going to find that where that is not going to do that, so you'll be like, oh, well, what was the past one then? So that's that for that. Turn that off, save it for later. And that's it for this video. And we'll see you on the next video. We'll turn some light on. Wow! You can actually see me again. We'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.